Two Count Kyle says, Mick, how was your experience working with Paul Heyman? Did you have any creative differences or issues getting paid? So listen, you told us about the whole baseball bat thing where he talked you out of that. Were there any creative differences that you and Paul ran into?
No, zero. I mean, even when it came down to the big request to do a heel turn, I was late getting to the arena. Even then, in my promo, I remarked about the head injuries because they were taking their toll even then, so that I was 20 minutes late because I couldn't find a building I'd been to probably 10 times before. And Paul sits me down and, Cactus, this is a question. This isn't fair to you to place this upon you now. You should have days, if not weeks, to, Paul can, he's a wordsmith.
Right.
And I said, what is it? He goes, will you turn heel tonight at the ECW Arena? I said, yep. And all I did was think about the guy in the crowd with the Kane Dewey sign. Mm-hmm. And that became my reason to turn, not just on my opponent, but on the entire fan base and organization.
I can't wait till we talk about that in long form.
That'll be another time?
Yeah, another time. Okay. So listen, the issue is getting paid. As far as I know, that was a much later ECW.
I never had any issue getting paid.
It did make me think of this when you said earlier that Todd Gordon had you an airline ticket that said Jack Manson.
Yeah.
I'm curious, had the WCW organization come up with the gimmick and the name Cactus Jack, do you think you would have been one of those folks who would have considered making that your real name? Like we've seen guys like the Ultimate Warrior, like he changed his name to Warrior, and as I understand it, Pat Patterson legally changed his name. And
would I have been Cactus Jack?
Could you have ever imagined a scenario where your first name was Cactus and your last name was Jack, and now they can't keep it from me, by God?
Not one single, not for a moment. It never even entered my mind until you brought it up now, and I'm glad I didn't do it. Because Mick Foley has become the kind of the fourth face, and I think when I was the commissioner specifically, that was a very much different character that I portrayed. So I like being Mick Foley.
These days we don't get to see that though, guys using their real name.
Yeah,
and it feels like certainly you can in AEW, I suppose, but a lot of folks on the WWE side of things, they have a name that WWE owns, and that's the way they want to do it.
I think our diehard fans would be surprised to learn how few of the wrestlers actually know each other's real names.
Everyone calls themselves by the gimmick names, right? Like, I mean, since we're on this subject, you don't call The Undertaker Mark or Mr.
Occasionally I call him Mark now because he calls me Mick. But he was one of the great holdouts who called me Cactus even during my WWE time. It's only like in the last year. I think when he did the 5-part documentary, then I was like, okay, I can call him Mark, yeah.
Well, I when I had the good fortune of meeting and hanging out with him once with Rick, it was... it's a weird circumstance for me because as a fan, I don't want to use his real name because that's not how I know him, and that feels disrespectful. But I want to show deference and respect because he is my elder, and I'm a fan, and blah, blah, blah. So I just went with Mr. Undertaker, which in hindsight sounds kind of goofy, but what else am I supposed to do?
I know, because if you call him Taker or Take him, I'd be like,
cool.
We're not familiar enough.
Right.
Excuse me, Undertaker.
Mr. Undertaker, sir?
He likes Taker. But you don't call him, I mean, when I became an announcer, it was like in bold-face type, never under any situation is he Taker. Like right underneath, it's not a strap, it's not a belt, it's never a strap. And then it was Undertaker is never Taker, he's always the Undertaker.
It's amazing.